here at Greenwich University. My name is Aziz Malik, and I will be your moderator for today's event. As we gather here today, we are reminded that education has the power to transcend geographical, cultural, and ideological borders. Our objective is to explore transformative strategies for global education that addresses sustainable challenges and promotes collaborative frameworks for sustainable development. I would like to begin by welcoming our Dean of Management Sciences, Dr. Shaikh, to come and address the audience today. So I will take a moment to welcome Dr. Shaikh, if you may, and you can please introduce the program. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum and very good morning to all our guests. I'm really honored and thankful to the organizers of this symposium to giving me this opportunity of welcoming to our esteemed guests and students. I always love doing this pleasant job of welcoming people, but it becomes a bit difficult to me when I'm giving out some notes also to read out, because for that I need my glasses to read something. Anyway, all esteemed guests, educators, and students, it's with great enthusiasm and honor that I welcome you all to this year's symposium, which is themed on education beyond borders, catalyzing sustainable future. This gathering marks a pivotal moment where thought leaders from diverse fields converge to reimagine the transformative power of education in shaping a sustainable, inclusive, and borderless future. Education has long been a cornerstone of progress and innovation. However, in a world facing interconnected challenges, climate change, inequality, rapid technological advancements, and shifting geopolitical dynamics, our approach to education must transcend traditional boundaries. Today, we are called to think beyond geographical, cultural, and disciplinary borders, embracing collaboration and creativity to build a future where knowledge becomes a universal catalyst for sustainable development. Today's symposium, it aims to foster dialogue on integrating sustainability into educational framework globally, highlight the role of technology and innovation in democratizing learning opportunities, and celebrate diverse perspectives that inspire transformative changes. As we embark on this journey together, let us be reminded of our shared responsibility to empower the next generation with not only the tools of success, but also the wisdom to lead with compassion, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to equity and sustainability. So, we are privileged to have an exceptional lineup of speakers and educational experts from prestigious universities and from different walks of life. I would like to welcome our esteemed guest, Mr. David Rogat, if I'm pronouncing your surname correctly. If not, then I'm sorry for that. He is College Director of Internationalization in University of Lincoln. Also our guest of honor, Dr. Sirajuddin Aziz, and our very own Excellency Cemal Sangu, Consul General of Turkey, your presence and other esteemed speakers and scholars. Your presence here today reflects your dedication to this mission, and we are eager to hear your insight, share your vision, and learn from one another. So thank you for being part of this remarkable event. Here is to an enlightening, empowering, and collaborative symposium. With these words, I would like our ceremony master to start this symposium and call the speakers, and we would really like to learn from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Shaikh. So we will now screen a documentary about Greenwich University, showcasing its achievements and contributions to education.
The beautiful color of Pakistan's flag reflects its diverse culture and bustling cities. Karachi is the heartbeat of Pakistan's economy. Greenwich University is situated on the beautiful shore of Karachi in the most serene and scholastic area. Each brick narrates a story of passion, perseverance, and academic brilliance, crafting a masterpiece of success. Greenwich swiftly ascended to autonomy as a degree-awarding institution in 1998 under the Act of the Government of Sindh, recognized by the Higher Education Commission of Pakistan. Today, it proudly claims its seat among the top 5 business universities in Pakistan, radiating its influence globally as a distinguished bastion of academic prowess. Greenwich University ranked as first in Pakistan and 61st globally by the Times Impact Ranking 2023 for the Sustainable Development Goal 8. Enjoying membership status with prestigious international accrediting agencies. International partnerships form the global bridge of Greenwich, connecting cultures, shaping futures, and ensuring a truly international educational experience. Global transferable credits, connecting Greenwich students worldwide. Most significant is the European Commission's Erasmus Plus program, enabling Greenwich students to study abroad for a semester, alongside joint research and faculty exchange components. Greenwich University is dedicated to shaping thought leaders for a humane and prosperous future. Experiential learning, where education transcends boundaries. Nurtured in classrooms, sown in lectures, and flourished in the legacy of knowledge. Financial support for needy and meritorious students, empowering dreams. Enter the core of academic brilliance, where the Faculty of Management Sciences and Information Studies thrives. Set free to discover your potential in the Business Administration, Computer Science, and Economics and Finance departments. Immerse yourself in the Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities, Media Art and Design, and Education departments, hubs of innovation and creativity. In this vibrant academic ecosystem, we inspire, innovate, and propel our students towards a future of limitless possibilities. The School of Fashion, within the Department of Media Art and Design. The School of Languages, within the Department of Education. The School of Banking and Finance, within the Department of Economics and Finance. The School of Protocol and Diplomacy, within the Department of Humanities. Greenwich Research and Development Center, pioneering exploration drives innovation for a future of limitless possibilities. Office of Research, Innovation and Commercialization, empowering excellence in research and innovation for positive societal impact. Greenwich University Research Journal serves as a scholarly platform, showcasing the latest advancements and diverse perspectives across disciplines. At Greenwich University, the Karachi Research Chair, specializing in sustainable development, spearheads transformative initiatives by generating evidence base for policy advocacy to enact governance reforms. Greenwich Executive Development Center is a hub for professional growth, offering tailored programs and resources. Greenwich University strives to create a harmonious and empowered community where diversity is celebrated, equity is upheld, and inclusivity is the foundation of all endeavors. The co-op program facilitates collaboration, connecting industry experts with aspiring leaders. The Corporate Service and Placement Office streamlines internship and employment opportunities for Greenwich University students through collaboration with the industry and university alumni network to connect the students with a diversified result-oriented talent pipeline. Student Development Council at Greenwich University is a student representative body formed yearly and presents an excellent opportunity for students to develop and demonstrate their leadership skills. The outreach program extends the university's impact through community engagement and knowledge-sharing initiatives. Aspiring to be a sustainable, socially responsible, and pioneering institution on a local, national, and global scale, Greenwich University has worked closely with Pink Ribbon, Sindh Institute of Urology and Transplantation, and other public interest organizations. Greenwich University Athletics in action. From dominating the Students' Asian Olympics to conquering prestigious championships, Greenwich University's outstanding sports performance exemplifies its holistic approach to education on both national and international fronts. Greenwich University's students showcase unparalleled achievements across fields, embodying the university's vision of nurturing leaders and cultivating honed leadership skills, making them proud guardians of Pakistan's future. Join the league of over 5,000 influential alumni. Over 3 decades of academic excellence, our journey from pioneer to premier has nurtured artists, business leaders, entrepreneurs, musicians, public servants, and politicians contributing to several aspects of human endeavor all over the world. Greenwich University's legacy shines as it confers honoris causa upon humanitarian icons, global leaders, and impactful personalities. These honorees establish a remarkable standard, imprinting their influence on society and inspiring future generations. Greenwich University's convocation witnesses the emergence of conscious leaders for tomorrow. It marks not the end of success, but the commencement of a beautiful journey towards impactful leadership. Greenwich is not a university. It's a lifestyle.
I hope you enjoyed that documentary. We have a presentation on educational policy for sustainable development from the Director of Research and Development at Greenwich University, Mr. Ali Jalani. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, good morning. It is my pleasure to warmly welcome David, our friend from Lincoln University in the UK, Brother Jamal Sanghu, Dr. Sirajuddin Aziz, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, our very dear students. Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning. Before I actually start my presentation in terms of connecting the dots on development or lack of it, or what the situation is, where my policy think tank hat, I would like to actually try to connect the topic today that we have in terms of education beyond borders. So it is not just the geographics that we're talking about here, it is also inter and multidisciplinary focus. in terms of how education needs to be seen, uh, specifically in terms of responding to the multidimensional crises that societies, uh, economies, politics, even our planet continues to face in the times that we live in today. So that has to be sort of like, the purpose of education. And also trying to connect with the vision of this institution. So this is a little more than a university, which is what basically will contextualize the idea of trying to go beyond borders in terms of conventional definitions of how a university is seen. So I will try to connect some of the aspects. Before that, I will cover some of the things that you already saw in the documentary. Thank you. So we've identified two issues. In the Pakistani context in particular, especially in the later half of 2010s, around 15, 16, we had this realization that students from Pakistan are not sort of welcomed in the way they should be, especially in the West. Specifically speaking of Europe, where I had a few experiences, the Chancellor also had a few experiences. So one of the ideas was to try to re-image Pakistan to the global audience. So that is something that we've been very particular about in terms of cultural diplomacy, which is something that goes beyond the role of a traditional university, how you would see it. The other way in which we go beyond borders in terms of intersectionality, we also recognize that there's a gulf between academic and policy processes, especially in the so-called third world countries, where the governance reforms are not informed by the brain of the society, which has to be the academic institutions and think tanks and so on and so forth. So we've had a specific focus on something called Sustainable Development Goals. I'm just going to try to cover the last year and a half in terms of what we've been able to achieve around that. So in terms of our work on sustainability, so first of all, it was recognized by the United Nations Academic Impact. It's a global entity that sort of analyzes your performance as an institution in terms of your complementarity to the global agenda, right? So it's not just within your national sphere, how you go beyond borders is what they try to track. So we were listed number one in Pakistan and 61st globally, specifically on goal 8, which is economic growth. This was Impact Ranking 2023. I spoke of cultural diplomacy, so one of the flagship initiatives that we were able to implement was taking a 25-member delegation to the EU Parliament in 2018, where we had the pleasure of engaging with members of the Parliament from the UK, France, Austria, Belgium, Spain, and we were able to sort of make a point across the table that whatever is showcased in the Western media is not quite how Pakistan is, right, on the ground. This is another component of that. So what we do is, in terms of our cultural diplomacy endeavors, we just do not take our delegations to the global community outside. We also try to have a very strong relationship with the missions operating in Pakistan, right? So creating that sense of conviction and validation in terms of who we are as a nation and as a people. One of the offshoots of this particular visit, so we had the pleasure of engaging with one of the Austrian MEPs at the EU Parliament, and from where we were connected with a university in Austria, with whom we collaborated to submit a proposal for the Erasmus Plus, and two of our kids were able to sort of go abroad for a semester in 2023 as international credit mobility exchange. Some of the other kids who've made us proud over the last year and a half. Ramin Siddiqui, she was one of the youngest delegates at the High-Level Political Forum of the United Nations General Assembly last year. So this was a proud moment for us. Then we have Yasser Durrani. He won the Swiss International Film Festival. He was also invited to be a judge for this event this year. This is one of our kids, Wakar Heather. He won the National Declamation Contest and then was invited to address the National Assembly of Pakistan. This is Aradia Khan. So one of the initiatives that we are the only university in the country at the moment who had this strong realization in terms of the marginality experienced by sexual diversities in the country, and specifically to do with transgender community, who do not have like a means of self-actualization, right? Given the systemic oppression that they are confronted with. So what we did was we identified some of the organizations working with that community closely, and then we signed some of the MOUs, and we offered 100% scholarship for any person coming from the transgender community to advance their educational outcomes. And I'm glad to report that we have more than 10 students now. So this is Aradia Khan. She was fantastic. I mean, you provide the opportunity to those who are left furthest behind, and probably you will find them at the top of the pile in terms of making social contributions. So this is an example of that. I mean, she was one of our flood heroes in 2022, the floods in Pakistan. So she was there, at the front in terms of our institutional response to this climatic issue. And she was nominated and received the Prime Minister's Flood Hero Award in 2023. This is one of our faculty exchange components in Russia, from the Department of Fashion. Some of our people who are part of the film and production side, so this is one of the awards there. This was the faculty exchange component. Basically, this was a workshop on decoloniality, which I will be talking about moving ahead. So basically, we were trying to speak to the European mind in terms of the youngsters as to how what they see in terms of the so-called developed and the underdeveloped world is not a coincidence. It's a result of schematized policies over time that have resulted in that. This is our provost and one of our faculty members who had the privilege of presenting one of the papers on educational leadership at the University of Cambridge last year. This is the high-level political forum of the United Nations General Assembly. So we were there, we were nominated as the regional speaker to represent Asia and the Pacific, like the 37 countries on different issues to do with some of the things that I will talk about in my next presentation on debt distress, climate justice, and a couple of other issues. And lastly, so because of trying to go beyond borders, not just as a conventional university, but in terms of our role in cultural diplomacy vis-a-vis our policy contributions, our chancellor was recently recognized, just last month for an honorary doctorate at the University of Oxford. So that was something that I wanted to cover. Norman, if you can move forward. Okay. Now, so that's when I take my university hat off. We have this policy think tank called the Karachi Research Chair. This is where we tend to make some contributions to the policy sphere globally. So this was basically on the left, a 14-country research across the Asia and the Pacific in terms of what the situation is around the issue of climate justice, right? And whether or not the policies in these countries are conducive enough, whether or not they have the resources enough, whether or not their legal architecture, their trade agreements, their bilateral treaties enable them or disable their policy capacity to be able to do anything around climate change, right? Whether or not we can incorporate some of the adaptation measures before we move for the mitigation and so on. So this was a 14-country research. We were the editors of this particular study. And on the basis of this, we also had this intergovernmental event on the right. This was last year. So we had the government of Pakistan, we had the government of Bangladesh, Nepal, India, and Malaysia for this panel. This was basically done at the Asian Pacific Forum on Sustainable Development in Bangkok. So we sort of organized this event in terms of bringing these smaller countries' governments together who are hardest hit by the consequences of climate change while having a meager carbon footprint. So they're only bearing the consequences, right? Because of the carbon emissions coming from the global north countries who contribute the most. So what about the reparation, the redistribution, and so on and so forth? So those kind of questions we try to address there. This is something that happened in September last year in the middle, so basically the SDGs have, I hope all of the students here are familiar with the SDGs, right? Can I have a show of hands? How many people know Sustainable Development Goals? Yeah? Okay. So, Sustainable Development Goals, sadly, are failing. We are 17% in terms of the progress, while being already halfway down in 2025 now, with just 5 years to go. It's a massive question on the conscience of our multilateral efficiency. Because of the business as usual consensus-oriented approach. So the SDGs are failing, and which is why we had this multilateral emphasis that we need to do something to reinvent the idea of sustainable development and try to sort of like turbocharge it in the last 5 to 7 years as to how we can try to accelerate the development by 2030. So this was an intergovernmental high-level thingy happening in New York, and we had youngsters coming from around 50 countries who were part of these discussions, and I had the pleasure of conducting a workshop with them. So I sort of there was a lot of hoo-ha about it's going to be revolutionary and so on and so forth. This high-level consultation. So I just went in there to create a sense of pessimism. I'm not a pessimist as such. I'm a radical optimist, and it's our responsibility to start pushing our youngsters now to start raising the right questions before we start answering them, right? So this was the purpose. That's exactly the presentation that I'm going to cover with you next in terms of where we are. And when we say, so one of the ideas here that we try to incorporate in our kids is education for emancipation over employability, right? So given the capitalist framework that we operate in, more often than not, what we see is education is around the idea of, in that capitalist framing about getting jobs and all of those things. But what gets lost in the process is your contribution in terms of realizing a democratized, inclusive, free, fair, just society. So those contributions coming from those conscious future leaders is one of the ideas that we wish to incorporate in the society, not just in the national sphere, but also moving forward. In terms of the SDGs, a lot of emphasis and a lot of disappointments there. So like I said, I mean, it's failing, as I told you. So in the Global Sustainable Development Report 2024, in fact, only 3 indicators are now on track out of the 36 indicators that are measurable globally. The aggregate overall performance beyond this indicators game is only 17%, like I said. Our regional commission for Asia and the Pacific is telling us that we will be able to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals by 2062, meaning we're just 32 years off the mark as of now. And that projection, I was just in a conversation, 2 weeks ago in Bangkok for Financing for Development. So we tried to sort of even challenge the idea of the financing they are projecting that we need for sustainability, which is flawed and not accurate, because all of this is based on 53% of the data that we can measure around sustainable development around the globe today. So when you don't know the 47%, how can you project that we're going to achieve this by 2062? We could be drifted into the 22nd century, right? For all that matters. The other issue is sustainable development was an intergovernmentally negotiated outcome. Now, I don't want to bore the kids here with that UN jargon and stuff. So what happens is your governments collectively agree over certain things and they do not agree over certain things, right? So this was a washed out package of whatever could be the lowest possible denominator in terms of what you will do as collective governments of the world in terms of trying to advance, say, the likes of peace, human rights, and development around the world. So it was not an ambitious sort of a thing as it is projected. So in that, some of the critical issues are left behind. Just to give you an example. Right now, 45% of the developing economies around the world are debt distressed. Pakistan is among them. You can see the level of inflations, you can see the kind of crises that we're facing, but there's very little emphasis in terms of any reforms at the IMF or the World Bank, or I call them a tricky trio out of love, the IMF, the World Bank, and the World Trade Organization. All three of them were supposed to be mandated during this Summit of the Future that they will conduct structural reforms within their operational models to enable smaller countries like ours to be able to get the fiscal space, the policy space to be able to incorporate the development priorities that we need. But somehow, it just did not work out. There's another issue. So, UN today is the oldie who nobody really cares about around the world. I mean, we see a lot of buzzwordism around the UN and so on, but my hair is turning gray. Engaging with them for over a decade now. It's failing on all three of its foundational principles. Peace and security. You can see the situation in Gaza today. Despite the International Court of Justice, which happens to be a principal organ of the UN, despite the International Criminal Court, both of them as multilateral institutions, as multilateral courts, proving and pushing the multilateral will to incorporate some level of justice. There are some countries who still have the audacity of sitting in the Security Council and vetoing a ceasefire resolution. So the UN doesn't have a purchase on peace and security. In terms of development, for instance, we need $4.2 trillion with a T every year for sustainable development in the global south. What we get is $200 billion on average every year under official development assistance. It's 21 times less than what we need every year. So the UN is also failing when it comes to development. Less said the better insofar as human rights record is concerned around the world, right? So that is the situation where we are. Then we have this tricky trio. They call themselves the Knowledge Bank because they got the money taken out of poor countries because of their flawed definitional issues in terms of how they define economics, how they define development, how they define governance. They somehow have the audacity of calling themselves the Knowledge Bank. Excuse me, are you Oxford or Harvard or what? You have some consultants who you are able to pay, and they frame definitional and conceptual issues around your priorities, which support the status quo perpetuated by the global north. So Stiglitz, who was fired from the World Bank a few years ago, their chief economic policy advisor, he produced a report that since its inception, World Bank's programs around the world have created more underdevelopment than the other ones. That's World Bank for you. In comes IMF. You see, there was a lot of optimism after the World War II that were going to try to develop the world and so on stuff. So you had World Bank as part of the Bretton Woods system to stabilize the macroeconomic side of things, and then you had IMF to stabilize the micros of the stuff. During COVID, when 119 countries were facing serious consequences of COVID-enforced economic downturns, they couldn't provide vaccines. 74% of the global population was without a single dose of vaccine, and most of them were in global south and smaller countries. At that time, IMF was asked for permanent cancellation of sovereign debt of smaller countries so that they could be able to provide their people with vaccines. They could provide some incentives for those who have lost jobs because of the shutdowns and everything and lockdowns, and some other priorities, providing bread and books and so on and so forth. In that very time, IMF pushed for 78 programs. 78 out of 96 of their programs pushed for further austerity measures. So that's your IMF. The other is World Trade Organization. So my country gets blackmailed by the likes of IMF for $1 billion or two all the time. It's our usual thing now. All of these kids know and experience, it's part of their lived reality. Yet, we were slapped with a $5 billion fine under an investment state dispute settlement ISDS clause, which is a World Trade Organization rule, by a multinational corporation, affecting millions in this country. Once again, where are we going to pay those $5 billion from? Right. So those kind of ISDS cases are perpetuated by neoliberal regimes such as WTO. Now, what are we asking for here? And how do you call this a policy for development in that sense, which is my focus here? We're asking for a democratized multilateralism that is efficient, action-oriented, and bold in its approach, that moves away from consensus-oriented approach towards prioritizing critical considerations, which are critical for our people and the planet today. We are asking for democratized representation of smaller countries across these different structures. You see, 40 plus delegations formed the World Bank, and almost pretty much that number as far as IMF is concerned. Smaller countries don't even have a representation, they don't have a voice, right? So we're asking for a democratized representation of these countries across these macroeconomic structures for us to be able to have any hope in terms of, pushing some development outcomes in this part of the world. We are asking for debt relief, specifically in terms of permanent cancellation of sovereign debt. Why? Because we have paid our debts many times over. It just continues to escalate because of the servicing charges and so on and so forth. So that is another problem. We are also asking for redefining risk in international lending. Now that's a different issue, so I'm not just going to go there. The other critical issue is climate financing. We are not the ones who are harming the planet here. We have meager carbon footprint, these smaller countries. Is the global north, the industrialized world, they should be responsible according to a principle in the Paris Agreement, which is called CBDRRC, Common but Differentiated Responsibilities and Respective Capabilities Clause. According to that, it has to be them. Polluters must pay. It is not those who are bearing the consequences of climate change. I mean, we had $33 billion losses reported in 2022 floods in this country. We have 20 plus million people displaced in this country, while we have meager carbon footprints. So those are some of the considerations that we're asking them to look into. I told you about how it's 20 times less in terms of what they give us compared to what we need. 2 weeks ago in Bangkok, we reformulated this argument. So I think I have many a times shared with some of my students here, there is something called illicit financial flows. So the very innocent multinational corporations from different countries who operate in our backyard here, they tend to avoid paying taxes, abusing our weak legal apparatus, right? They tend to be involved in asset stealth, profit shifting, and trade mispricing. So some of our friends were able to just calculate one indicator, which is called tax evasion. Just out in tax evasion, every year, we lose over $1 trillion to the developing countries because of their multinational corporations evading taxes in our backyard. While they give us how much? $200 billion for development every year. So we have tried to reframe the argument this year that you see what, we don't need your development financing. If your multinational corporations start paying the taxes in our countries, we will not be requiring any kind of development aid from your side. So that's pretty much the discourse that we're trying to set there. The final issue that I'm just going to quickly cover here is the security issue. So I've already spoken to you about development and human rights situation, which is there in the media every day. What's not discussed, Security Council has 5 permanent members. We have no country, we have 3 Europeans, 1 from North America, 1 from Asia. We have nobody from Pacific, we have nobody from Latin America, we have nobody from Africa. So we are pushing for more permanent seats vis-a-vis the abolition of veto as well as the unilateral sanctions applied against different countries wielded as a whim of foreign policy of certain countries who are actually members of the P5, right? So we're asking for a democratized Security Council if you are ever going to realize peace around the world, because right now, war is more profitable over peace. That is a contradiction that we are living in our times, and that needs to be fixed now. So, our friends, I'm part of a civil society mechanism at the regional level. It's a coalition of 600 plus organizations called Asia Pacific Regional CSOs Engagement Mechanism, APRSEM. I lead their advocacy component. So we have this slogan across all layers: decolonize, decarbonize, deliberalize, and democratize to realize development justice for all. And that is what we're demanding as the regional society. And I think that is something that we start telling our kids who are going to be the leaders of our tomorrow, in terms of just understanding the questions here. Just start raising the right questions, in the times of today, and maybe the future generation could probably find its answers. I thank you.
Good morning or good afternoon, in between, right? I was told that I have only 10 minutes, but after listening such a nice explanation of the countries evaluated very well, it gives me really different ideas how our new generation can think in a totally different way and can present their ideas and can present their ideas. Is it okay? Uh, on different worldwide level. I'm simply an educationist, a teacher basically. My area is education and special education. So I will talk only about my field. Uh, the topic is related to collaboration and interaction among different fields. Now, education beyond border. The word we use, catalyzing sustainable future. to be focused on the topic. Because I'm an educationist, I have so many questions for you. Whenever we are talking about sustainable developmental goal, it's my experience that these goals are discussed in educational setting only at higher education level. At lower level or school-based level, most of our children or even the teachers are not very well aware about the demands of these SDGs or the goals. If I uh, I ask someone from these audience how many goals you can identify. Of course, you are listening about SDGs at higher education level. You can name, I think, almost 17 goals. But at education level, at lower education level, even teachers are unaware about it. So, whenever we are talking for achieving these 17 goals, which are set to be achieved till 2030, the target is 2030, and as previous expert explained, we even couldn't achieve up to 20% of the total targets. There are these different uh, goals like elevating poverty, equal rights, human rights, life underwater, life over water, or on the land, education, energy. These are 17 different goals, and even most of us are not aware how and in what way we are going to achieve them. So there are so many questions in my mind, especially what is we have to identify these things. What is already have been done? How many uh, goals at what level we have achieved these goals? But the question is that who will decide and who will provide that data? We even don't have proper data related to what we have done so far. We don't have any data regarding that. When I tried to write my paper, research paper on this topic, I couldn't find proper data related to even literacy rate. How and in what way we are working for reducing illiteracy and getting literacy at school level. So the most important thing is that we don't have proper research-based data related to what we have done or what people are or experts are doing for achieving these targets. Uh, we have to have whenever we want to target something, we must see around us. So we, for deciding and developing any plan or program for getting or achieving these SDGs, we must get proper data nationally as well as internationally. So there are organizations who are working and providing these data internationally. Now, the second important thing related to that is what are the gaps? Unless you have the previous data or the present working situation, you cannot find the gap. What is missing? Unless you know what is missing, what we have to do, what are the targets we are going to achieve, you cannot do a proper planning. For planning, you need what is left. And knowing about what is left or what is the gap, you need data. So all the things moving toward this basic thing, finding proper data or collecting proper data. Another question arises, uh, what are different dimensions or SDGs on which we can work? Okay, there are 17 different dimensions. Are we ready to work on all these 17? Last one is the collaboration. Okay, but the 16 are main focus areas. So, on how many different SDGs we are working presently? Can anybody tell me about it? आपने से कोई बताएगा? हम किन गोल्स पे काम कर रहे हैं? Presently, only one goal, which is like with the education sector, literacy. Some a very small amount of work is being done on that. Other is related to energy sector. Very little work is on energy sector. But what about life under sea? Life under water? Poverty. What are we going to do for reducing this distance or this gap? Another thing or the question that arises, what resources are available? Do we have proper resources for achieving these 17 goals? Resources in the form of tangible, non-tangible, as well as a human resource. Okay, the best human resource which we can utilize for achieving these goals. So I will talk about very small part that is related to education, and really, if you just imagine, really teachers at school level, in private school mostly, not in government school, they are trying to achieve these sustainable goals through different activities, introducing different type of activities in their regular teaching process. So they are working on a very, very small level. But at educational level, there is some movement or you can say work towards achieving these goals through the effort of students and through the efforts of teachers. So you can see these things. Even you can see this seminar is also a part of giving awareness or understanding regarding what are our own responsibilities. Unless each and every person will think that he or she is responsible and he or she has to contribute something for achieving these goals, no, I don't think that we will be able to even go beyond 17%. Okay, the other part or the word we are using here is the catalyst. Okay, so what actually and who is the catalyst? Can someone tell me what is the work of a catalyst? कोई बताएगा? मैं कोई टीचर हूँ by nature. कैटलिस्ट का क्या काम है? कोई बताएगा मुझे? कैटलिस्ट क्या करते हैं? चलिए बता. Actually, catalyst is in the center of any other thing that initiate or that start something and increase the rate of reactions, right? That's the work of a catalyst. So, in education sector, who is the catalyst? Who can increase the rate of achieving these SDGs? आपके ख्याल में कौन कर सकता है SDGs को तेज, इसके achievement को तेज? Who can work as a catalyst? I think our teachers. This is mainly the responsibility of teachers. They can work as catalysts because they can initiate and they can increase the rate of work among their students for achieving and developing the concept that we are responsible for achieving these goals. developing awareness among all the masses that unless we all work together, we cannot achieve even a single goal. So, can you work as a catalyst? Are you ready? Do you think you are ready to work as a catalyst? You are participating in the process of achieving these goals? Think of that. Are you really included in this process of achieving education, educator, and system of education, and how they can work as a catalyst? This is the point of thinking for the expert, how we can utilize this system for the betterment and for achieving those goals. Now, there is one thing I always talk about that thing. Those experts and you can say our persons who are responsible for developing different policies, they sign on that policy. They signed on policy and agreed about achieving these 17 goals, right? But do they convey that message till the base grounding space or the baseline? They didn't. Unless if you are signing something, you are agreeing about something that we will do this. Unless you make others aware about it, what is the need, what is the demand, what I am signing for, how can you think of achieving these goals? But that process was missing, conveying what is needed to the grassroots. That process was missing. That is the reason why we are still not achieving these goals. So I'm moving down very fast. मेरे पास बहुत ज़्यादा मैं इस बात नहीं कर सकती. We must decide who is responsible. Are we all aware about the need? Why it is so important to achieve these goals? आखिर क्या जरूरत है? मतलब अगर ये गोल नहीं अचीव होंगे तो क्या होगा? I'm sorry. मैं प्रैक्टिस की जब दवाई कभी-कभी मुझे ऐसा. So नहीं करेंगे तो क्या होगा? If we will not achieve these goals, then what are the consequences? Where will we be? Future में हम कहाँ होंगे? This is the point we have to think about as experts, as educators, as the new generation. You have wide thinking and access to the whole world now. So you people are responsible for thinking that. Why these things are so important? Why achieving these goals are so important? Okay, we can work as catalyzers for sustainable future. These are some of the points. Of course, most of you are very well aware about it. I'm talking about interdisciplinary approach to success. Unless we work together from different areas, different subject matters, we are working in a form of bit by bit. We are limited to ourselves. Limited. Unless we work in collaboration. When I was listening the expert here, मुझे ज़हन में एक ख्याल आया कि he was mentioning how much they are achieving and having collaboration with international and national persons. What about your local persons? Do you have any collaboration with other universities? You didn't mention it. How you are interacting with other universities, other institutes, that must be given importance also. Because unless you work interdependent or in collaboration, we cannot achieve anything. So these are the some optimizing. The first thing is optimizing human energy and resources. Activate each and every one. Okay, that is first thing. Reducing redundancy or resistance, enhancing efficiency, promoting synergy, similarity, and working together. link education to other fields. Uh, if we can join education with social development, education with other fields of the science like technology, computer science, joining these fields together can develop different concepts and you can collect energy, mental and physical energy from different angles, and then you will be able to achieve something. That's very, very important. Not only within your organization, but collaboration and contact with other organizations who are working in the same field, and if they are at your mental level, so you can have good collaboration with local persons also. Real world application, think in a real way. What actually we are, what we can do, what resources we have in doing work with these little resources, how we can develop things. Reforming curriculum for interdisciplinary education, that is a very, very important point. Presently, we have to reform education and have collaboration with other fields also, including other we can say that presently Higher Education Commission is trying to achieve something like that. So we are working in this way, but that's very, very important. I know it's very, time is very limited. Uh, Techno training, this is needed for that, and assessment method. So uh, actually, I was thinking that if you people will ask something, but time का थोड़ा सा shortage चल रहा है. This is interdisciplinary approach. I'm not talking about it. Uh, Now the addressing this complex global challenges. These are all global challenges. When we talk about energy, it's not limited to your country, to your area, but that's a global. मैं यहाँ आ रही थी, I saw uh, at least 10% of the houses, they are all using other source of energy now. They are moving towards that. सबने अपनी source of energy को change किया. So that is the concept. Changing with the time because of the need. So looking at your needs, you have to design different synergies, different technologies, different methodologies, and using the new generation, their concept, their energy, then we can achieve these goals, hopefully. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Anjum, for your insights. Next, I would like to invite our guest from the United Kingdom, Mr. David Ricaro. He is the College Director of Internationalization at the University of Lincoln, and he will share his insights on internationalization in education. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Ricaro. Thank you.
Good morning. I say good morning to you, but my brain is still waking up. I'm just looking at my phone. It's about 6:45 back home in the United Kingdom. So please do bear with me as I continue getting up from my slumber. Esteemed educators, and most importantly, the distinguished guests and the students here. I feel very glad to be at Greenwich University, and I want to register the warm reception and welcome that I've enjoyed from my colleagues here at Greenwich. So just to give you a bit of context, I'm from the University of Lincoln in the United Kingdom, and I've been working with colleagues here at Greenwich in trying to foster a collaborative partnership, how we can work together opportunities for research, collaboration, student mobilities, and all other outcomes that can enrich in such a way as we are talking today, international education. So it is in that regard that I will honor to address such a dynamic gathering on a topic that lies at the heart of global progress. Education beyond borders, catalyzing sustainable futures. Today, as we explore the opportunities that await students in foreign universities, we recognize that education has evolved far beyond the confines of the classroom and far beyond the confines of geographical borders. It is now a global ecosystem, interconnected and enriched by cultural exchange, shared knowledge, and collaborative innovation. For instance, at the University of Lincoln, we've got students from more than 83 countries coming to study at the University of Lincoln. So, for those students pursuing education abroad, the possibilities are truly transformative. Studying in a foreign university offers more than just academic credentials. And it is with pleasure that we also push at the University of Lincoln that students that come to study at the University of Lincoln are provided a platform for the exposure to new cultures, languages, and ideologies that foster critical thinking, empathy, and preparing them to navigate and live in an interconnected world. And it is that element of epistemic or knowledge sharing, knowledge exchange in an internationalized manner that is quite central. It's the point that I want to drive for the purpose of this symposium and why it's important for the University of Lincoln. In particular, when we say international or internationalized education, in most cases, it is a one-way street, where it means the student that is going to study abroad are predominantly in the West, and we say they've got an international education. But the question I want to pose is, where does the knowledge from a student from Pakistan, the knowledge that we've attained here, where does it sit in the international knowledge framework? So you become an international student because you've studied at a foreign university. So in that regard, we are approaching internationalization at Lincoln with a very deliberate aim that embraces some of the issues that have already been mentioned here around decolonizing knowledge, the knowledge and power hierarchies in knowledge production, where the value of the knowledge that you bring as a student from Pakistan, as a student from Sri Lanka, as a student from Saudi Arabia to Lincoln matters not just for you, but also for our home students, the students at University of Lincoln. So it is that interaction of different knowledge cultures that we encourage, that we try to paint that picture of a truly internationalized knowledge and production framework. We've got what we call at the University of Lincoln, student as producer. So the student is seen as part of the knowledge production process. That way we are constantly welcoming and learning from our student counterparts coming to join us. Hence, the critical thinking and development of global mindsets. The university also has a credible international research profile, which has what it's leading in agri-food technology, for instance, and innovation, providing unparalleled access to state-of-the-art facilities and academic expertise in those areas. Education abroad isn't just about personal growth. It's about preparing students to contribute meaningfully to a sustainable future. The world needs leaders who can think globally and yet act locally. Sustainability challenges such as climate change, as mentioned before, and social equity require multidisciplinary solutions. So studying abroad allows students to engage with peers from diverse fields, building holistic approaches to global issues. But that journey of studying abroad is quite often fraught with a lot of challenges. Adapting to new environments, overcoming cultural differences, and building resilience. Whilst those are challenges that one can personalize, but they also can be wealthy grounds for personal development. And if I can use an analogy of being in traffic, you're a first-time driver, you fear getting into traffic because you think you're going to bump into somebody, you think you are going to make a mistake. But if every driver thought like that, and say, okay, that next person is also fearing, bumping into somebody. You start to see yourself as part of the ecosystem. So you are not the problem, you are part of that traffic. So all those kind of anxieties can be addressed and supported, and we do have those kind of frameworks at the University of Lincoln. As I say, these very experiences shape students into well-rounded, adaptive, and resourceful individuals ready to lead in an ever-changing world. The University of Lincoln provides a holistic environment for the students to study and to engage in such activities which enhance their skills and capabilities. So, to the students here today, I would urge you to dream big. Embrace the opportunities that come your way and step out of your comfort zones. Your education is not just your personal advancement. In some cases, maybe it's not something that you're just doing to please your parents. It is a tool to build a better, more equitable, and sustainable world. And to our colleagues, the educators, and the institutions that let us work together, we would want to urge that internationalization of education should open accessibility doors, inclusive cultures, and align with goals of catalyzing sustainable futures. By investing in this next generation, we are also investing in the future of our planet. As we move forward, let us envision education not as a privilege for the few, but as a universal bridge that connects people, ideas, and solutions. Let us also ensure that education transcends borders and becomes a powerful force for a sustainable and equitable future. In that regard, I want to thank you for your attention and for the passion that I've heard today, people expressing very challenging views, and your commitment to this particular cause. And to my colleagues and the provost, the vice chancellor here at Greenwich University, I also want to express my profound thanks for the reception that I've enjoyed and the comradeship that is shown, that indeed their commitment to cross-border, multidisciplinary, and cross-cultural interaction is at the heart of this institution. So I say together, we can transform these dreams into actionable and learning lessons that can build our future educational leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, David. May I ask you, may I please invite you back on stage? And may I also invite our guest of honor, Dr. Sirajuddin Aziz and Dr. Shaikh, so that you may present David with a small token of appreciation from Greenwich University.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon to all. And before I start my talk, I would like to make a correction. I'm not from Zerbest. I'm head of the Department of Social Sciences at Greenwich University main campus. And my area is philosophy, so I'm going to philosophize about the rethinking of education in globalized and digitalized world. So the title of my talk is Rethinking Education in Globalized and Digitalized World. The concept, there are three concepts I'm going to present considering the limited time. And those concepts, I believe, are important, essential, not only for educator, but more than that, my dear students, the concept I'm going to discuss, they are relevant to you because you are living in the digital world, right? As per research, in average, an individual is spending average 7 hours on the screen. So you are one of the generation who are living in the digital world. So this paper and the concept which I'm presenting are more important to you. As I said that we are living in a globalized world that is characterized by interconnectedness and technology innovation. And of course, the globalization has removed barriers. It has given us a lot of opportunity. We are working in collaboration. It's possible for students in a remote area to have access to the quality education on different platforms. Technology has its own promises, right? We are connected with more people. We have a lot of opportunities, but we all understand that with all these opportunities, there are significant challenges which we have to face. And there are a number of challenges. Some of the challenges have already been mentioned by my colleagues, like digital disparity, the other global challenges. I'm going to focus on something which is way closer to my heart as a philosopher. And that is when we look at this globalized world, uh, we have interconnectedness, unparalleled interconnectedness. We are living in a historically in a time where we are more connected with people. So it's an age of hyperconnectivity. And this hyperconnectivity enables us to, of course, have collaboration, working together, thinking for the solutions together. But at the same time, it also fragments our attention. So, while we often use how education to address the global challenges, global issues like sustainability and equitable opportunities, and when we talk about sustainable interaction, most of the time it's the interaction with other. That could be other human being or environment. But I strongly believe that as an educationist, how my question today, which I want to pose, is how can education help us sustain a meaningful relationship with ourselves? Have you ever think that we human being must have a relationship with ourselves also? So today I argue, that's my idea, that if we want to talk about the sustainable interaction with the environment, with the other human being, before that, the foundational idea is to having a sustainable relationship with our own selves, right? And what do I mean by that? Before I come to my idea of sustainable relationship with oneself, I would like to talk about 2 or 3 challenges of the digitalized, globalized world. The first challenge I already mentioned, hyperconnectivity. So one research, I was, conducting a research to collect some data on it. One research projections indicate that by 2025, each connected person will engage in nearly 500 data interactions per day. And this was 298 in 2010. So we are living in an exceptionally interconnected world in which we have got the opportunity to connect more people but having less meaningful interactions, right? So one problem is hyperconnectivity. All the time you're receiving notification. I know that most of you, or some of you maybe, are still using cell phones, right? Connected with other people who are not around you right now, who are not talking to you directly, but somewhere sitting maybe in different parts of the world, so you're connected with them. And that's caused the problem. What is the problem? I'll discuss that. The second problem, I don't know how many of you are aware of it, is that we are living in a society of most of, as I said, that in a digital world, and the digital world ruled by attention economy. Have you heard that word? No? Is there any business student here? Raise your hand. So attention economy is a very important concept. What is it? So we are very happy to have free accounts on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and you people are quite intelligent. Is there anything free in this world? There's a very famous phrase, nothing, there's no free lunch. So what is the cost? There must be some hidden cost, isn't it? There must be some hidden cost. So what is the cost you are paying? Any idea? Time. YouTube, time, and do you spend, when you spend time on something, what does it show? YouTube पे किसको ज़्यादा पैसे मिलते हैं, किस बात के पैसे मिलते हैं? Who gets? देखने के. That's mean attention economy is a system where your attention becomes commodity. Your attention is being sold. It's not, there's nothing free. So this is called attention economy, and this idea in 16, it was given by Herbert Simon, but it has quite developed after that. And it says that in today's world, all the social media platform, the more attention any content, irrespective of the quality it gets, it pays more. Right? And the second thing is that all social media platforms work with they are ruled by algorithm, right? Anything, if you spend few seconds on some content, irrespective of the quality of the content, irrespective whether it's a hateful content or not, algorithm doesn't know that. The only work of algorithm is that it collects the data that what content was able to grab and retain the more attention. Any content which grabs and retains the more attention, that is going to get popularity, that is going to be circulated, and you're going to get the same content again and again. Whether it's true or false, algorithm doesn't make that difference. You will be given the same kind of magic hota hai na, jo cheez hum dekhte hain, the same kind of content we receive, right? What magic is it? It's that, simply that. So if you hate ABC and you watch 1-2 videos, the algorithm is going to give you more videos on it, right? That's another problem. So there is no line between true and false. The third problem that is related to, of course, these things is the constant distraction. Because your attention is a commodity, everybody is trying to grab the attention. So you're going to get there's going to be the poverty of attention in the world in which we are living. So now my argument is that to have a responsible citizen and individuals who can live a responsible life, we would like to have sustainable and responsible interaction with the environment and with other human beings. For that, we need to rethink education. We need to have holistic concept of education that focus on the development of individual. Not only knowledge, more about skills and values. So skills mean, for example, a survey, I'm talking about the developed country survey, to identify whether the content is right or wrong, whether the content is relevant to me or not, whether I should have it or not. I should spend my time on it or not. You need critical thinking. And in developed countries, the survey and the research tells us that only 20% youth was able to demonstrate the critical thinking skill. So if you're going to live, our students are going to live in that kind of world where they are bombarded with the information, rather disinformation. They need to have critical thinking skills to make the right choices, to decide what is true, what is false. They need to have a digital literacy skills. More than that, they need to have self-regulation skills. So they can manage their time, they can regulate themselves, what to see, when to see, why to see, you know. In philosophy, we have all this WH question, why, how. So I think that we need to. And values, mindfulness. My dear students, you are sitting here. There are few values I think we need to work upon. One is mindfulness, the other one is purposefulness. You're doing something, we need to prepare our students, we need to inculcate these values that they should value their life, they should live a purposeful, meaningful life, and they should have a mindful interaction, they should set their goal mindfully, so they should have a responsible interaction with themselves first, and then can have, you know, responsible, sustainable interaction with environment and with other human beings. So before I end, I will end my talk on the concept of the having sustainable relationship with oneself. What do I mean by it? A sustainable relationship with oneself, I mean that it's something that nurturing a state of well-being that supports long-term personal growth, resilience and fulfillment. You know, we are mining our attention. जैसे हम चीज़ों resources को mine करके ख़त्म कर रहे हैं, there is lot of content to consume and our attention. So there is a concept of poverty of attention. So we need to retain our attention, preserve our attention to use as for more purposeful, fulfilling tasks. So that's what I mean by having a sustainable relationship with yourself. A sustainable relationship with oneself also includes being mindful of one's own values, goals, and purpose. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Noorunnisa. Next, we have Dr. Rozina Sewani from the Department of Education of Greenwich University, who will share her expertise on teacher education and leadership.
Assalamu alaikum. Acha ji. Now, sometimes what we are doing when we are speaking a lot of English, so our students are feeling that little bit, you know. Sometimes it's needed to be speak something which is belong to our own language. तो एक जोक जो है मैं आपको अपनी ज़बान में सुनाती हूँ जो आपने बहुत सुना होगा, because some jokes are like that when you can say in your own language so people enjoy, you can translate some words in that way. As a qualitative researcher, I can say that. सुना तो होगा आपने कि एक स्कूल में एक सुपरवाइजर जो है वो विजिट करने गए, तो वहाँ आप जैसे प्यारे प्यारे खूबसूरत बच्चे तो मौजूद थे, वो जैसे एक टीचर भी थी जो उनको नेचर पे पढ़ा रही थी और कह रही थी नटूरे नटूरे नटूरे. सो सुपरवाइजर वाज सो मच कॉन्शियस एंड ही वेंट बैक टू द प्रिंसिपल. उसको कहने लगा भाई ये टीचर क्या पढ़ा रही है, नेचर को नटूरे पढ़ा रही है. सो प्रिंसिपल वाज सो मच कॉन्शियस एंड शी सेड क्या करें हमारे टीचर मटूरे नहीं हैं. सो यू डू अंडरस्टैंड मैच्योर नहीं है. वो बहुत परेशान हुए, अपनी ऑफिस के अपने बॉस को कहने लगे इस स्कूल का हाल बहुत बुरा है, यहाँ तो नटूरे मटूरे चल रहा है, कैसे होगा. तो उनके बॉस ने जो एजुकेशन के टॉप मैनेजमेंट के थे उन्होंने कहा कि क्या करें हमारा फटूरे ही खराब है. सो यू डू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट आई एम सेइंग. So dear students, Assalamu alaikum, have your seats and I promise I will not take more than 10 minutes. Less than 10 minutes I can promise, but not more than 10 minutes, so you will enjoy. So right now I'm not talking about education and leadership. This is my heart and soul, I love leadership management, but here I'm talking about interdisciplinary approaches to sustainable education, how we can bring these things in our education where teachers and students and everywhere, not necessarily they are student teachers, our communities, our surroundings, they can also learn from us. May I request you to move on? Oh, sorry. So right now I'm talking about education and leadership. This is my heart and soul, my, I love leadership management, but here I'm talking about interdisciplinary approaches to sustainable education, how we can bring these things in our education where teachers and students and everywhere, not necessarily they are student teachers, our communities, our surroundings, they can also learn from us. May I request you to move on? Oh, sorry.
So what are the interdisciplinary approaches? What we are talking about that? So it represents a transformative paradigm shift in higher learning that recognizes sustainability, challenges complex multifaceted nature and the need for the holistic integrated solution. So we all talk about already. I'm not going to explain more over that. Also, Dr. Noorunnisa talked about the critical thinking, and Dr. Anjum also highlighted those things. So I'm not going to talk a lot about that thing, but still for our education system, education doesn't mean to belong to only school teachers or like academic area. Wherever you are getting any kind of education is a part of education. So how we can go talk about these things, think about the problem solvings, and think about all the economic issues, pressing environmental. Pakistan is very vulnerable. We all know about that thing. This is a not new concept I'm giving you. We all know very well that Pakistan is very much vulnerable. And how we can contribute to save our environment and other things, we can talk about that. We need these kinds of coursework, research projects, experiential learning. Theory तो बहुत बात करते हैं. How we can go and do practice, right? First practice, then preach. हम कहते रहते हैं. So how we can go for that, and how we can go and learn our own. Students gain a comprehensive understanding of sustainability principles and develop the ability to apply this knowledge to real world contexts. We should not talk about it, utopia. We should think about how we can bring changes in our surroundings. So always we are talking about think globally, work locally. And Dr. Anjum, she was also talking about when you are talking about international, national, how you can bring changes or transform your learning nearby, locally. So how we can go for that as a student, as a teacher, we have to learn about that. So how we can take small steps, like we can take baby steps. If you have read about this, Shivan Kavi is always talking about take baby steps. So how we can take baby steps? Reduce waste. But the good thing is that if I have a small car, I'm going to throw things out of my car towards buildings. In Karachi, if I have a big car, then I can throw. You have seen that. This is our practice. So how we can take baby step? How we can give some signs that please don't do this thing. It doesn't matter who you are, whether literate or not, bookish literacy is there or not. How we can reduce those things? We are throwing wrappers. If we are in university, there are rules, regulation we are following. If we are at home, home is home. We are not throwing rubbish anywhere except dustbin. But we are on the roads, in the markets, everywhere we are throwing. क्या हो गया एक ही तो कागज फेंका है. So one by one we are throwing. What is happening? It's becoming a bulk. So we have to think about that. How other countries, if you got chance to go other countries, not other countries, even you can go Islamabad or northern part, Gilgit Baltistan. You can find out people never ever like it. You can throw one wrapper over it. So this is a good example. Models are available in our own country and in other countries. They pay respect when you are taking any rubbish and throwing into the dustbin. So we have to go in that way. Plantation. Plantation, okay, every university is doing, every another person is a part of SDG. Before that MDGs, now SDGs. Millennium Development Goals are away, so we are talking about Sustainable Development Goals. We have planted 100 trees, but who is going to take care of that? Whether they are alive or not, whether they are growing or not, or somebody is chopping them or not. So are we sustaining in that way? Now, after you can see plantation, what we are doing, chopping all the trees, rather I can say we are murdering. Murder karna Karachi mein plants ka, it's very easy. If I have a bungalow and selling them, somebody is going to make high-rise building over there. First thing what they are doing, chopping all the plants and trees. They never care about these things. So what we are doing, we are killing ourselves, not the cutting plants and all the things, because we are not getting oxygen. So talk about mangroves. We had so many mangroves, but now we don't have. This is paper. If we can print both sides, it's good. And we can reduce, if we don't need full paper, we can go for one piece of paper. Is it necessary we can go for full paper? Save water, water conservation. We, Pakistan is right now in a terrible condition related to the water. We don't understand this thing. We have to understand. Wherever we are going, tap is on, and we are facing our wash, you know, this is happening. Shower ले रहे हैं तो खुला हुआ है, toothbrush हाथ में पानी खुला हुआ है. We don't understand, people are dying. If you can go interior part of third and other part of the countries, you cannot find water over there. So we should understand this thing. We can save individually this water. Car wash कर रहे हैं, water is going out of home. Veranda we are washing, water is going out of home. My home is my home. But outside is not my home. This is a common thinking here. We all are participating or contributing this thinking. Outside home, if road is because of the water, it's rubbish is there and it's making smell and all the things. No, this is not my home. So why we are not taking our own, you can say ownership. We should take ownership. We should not go in that way. Karachi, Pakistan, this world is belong to earth. Human beings are living on the earth. They have to take care of their land, their global life, and whatever you can see. We have to think in as a global citizen. Do not think that my home is only my home. Save energy. England is now working towards that. They were using coal, a lot of coal, and now they are transferring to another alternate energies. So Europe, you can find out over there, including Turkey and other countries, that how they are changing their role over there. Innovative research, we needed already. Dr. Anjum and Dr. Noorunnisa and other my colleagues talk about that. So faculty, how they can take a part in that. Faculty should think about these things. If I'm a faculty, I'm finishing my class, I just switch off my lights and fan or AC. It's not my home, it's university, but it's belong to me. This energy is also belong to me. So how we can take small steps, small actions will bring a lot of change over there. So ethics students, we all learn about Islamic ethics and other ethics. We know about now it's a metropolitan ethics, cosmopolitan ethics. So we have to think about these ethics as well. So we have to create ethics, human values, and social responsibilities. And in this way, we are going to learn so many things. You are a student, you know all the things. Time is limited. I'm not going to read all the things. You do, whenever you get time. So our student also visited Old Home. It's a diversity, multicultural. We should go in a different ways and we can provide support to others. We can see environment. We can support human beings. Old citizens have their own human rights. So we think about that and support them. Save water, how we can save water. You have to think about that. How you can inculcate all these things in your students. See, you can visit different thalassemia centers and other parts so they can support all these SDGs which are belong to 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 to 17 all. Now, we are valuing very less our animals. They also need our support. How we can go and provide and support. So, दुनिया में जितनी भी चीजें हैं, we should take care of those things, and in that way we can sustain our earth. Hopefully, you will do that. Thank you so much, Alhakas.
So, can I start?
Yes, you may. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much. So, good afternoon, dear friends and colleagues. Let me introduce myself. My name is Porozov. I am an associate professor of the Ural State Pedagogical University, the city of Yekaterinburg, Russia. So, let me express my sincere gratitude to my respected colleagues from Greenwich University, the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, and other guest speakers. So, it is a great honor for me to address my colleagues from Pakistan, as I have had the privilege of both teaching students in your country and organizing several important academic and cultural events. And when my colleagues from Greenwich University invited me to provide a short talk at this event, I was actually faced with the difficult question, how to maintain a balance between three elements of any scientific talk in a small amount of time. I mean, these three elements: informative, scientific value, and moreover, I wouldn't want my talk to be boring for you. So let me introduce the topic of the report: resources for learning Russian as a foreign language. So please, next slide. If you want, second slide, slide number 2. So firstly, I would like to discuss the perspective of learning Russian as a foreign language. First of all, Russia is the largest country in the world. It is about 1/8 of the Earth's landmass, and Russia stretches more than 4,000 kilometers from north to south and almost 10,000 kilometers from east to west. Russia is washed by 13 seas and 3 oceans. Please, slide number 2. And almost 146 million people live in our country. There are more than 190 different ethnic groups in Russia. Russian is the official language of the Russian Federation and belongs to the Indo-European language family. According to official data, Russian is currently spoken by 260 million people worldwide. It is the 8th most spoken language in the world, and Russian is also one of the official languages used in the United Nations. And many important international treaties are written in Russian. It is also the second most common language on the internet after English. Please, previous slide. I need to say that Russian is the language of international communication in many countries, especially in Asia. Learning Russian is popular at university level and considered to be of high quality. Many foreign students who have studied Russian at our university have gone on to have successful career. And I need to say that last year, Russian Ministry of Education and Science said that there were just over 360,000 foreign students studying at Russian universities. 3. Russian is the language of world science. So I need to say that the first words spoken by a human in space were in Russian. Many important scientific discoveries have been made by Russian scientists. For example, Lobachevsky invented geometry. Stoletov invented first photocell. Butlerov invented the theory of the structure of organic substances. Zworykin, he was the father of modern television. Mendeleev, his chemical periodic table. And Popov invented radio. Famous Russian scientist Pirogov invented anatomical sections. Ladygin invented the lamp. Pavlov invented the science of higher nervous activity and others. And Russian is a key language of world culture. Great Russian writers like Pushkin, Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Chekhov created the modern Russian language. Many of Russia's famous places like Moscow and Red Square, St. Petersburg and the Hermitage are well known around the world. But there are also other interesting places to visit in Russia. For example, my city, Yekaterinburg, home of the Ural State Pedagogical University, is right on the border between Europe and Asia. And our city, my city, Yekaterinburg, is also known as the third capital of Russia. And learning Russian lets you discover many different areas in our country. For example, there is an interesting train route in Russia from Moscow to St. Petersburg, from Moscow to Vladivostok, which is the longest route in the world on the territory of one country. The distance by train is around 9,000 kilometers, and the route, it takes almost 7 days to travel. And on the way, you will visit more than 80 cities and 20 regions of Russia. And I need to say that knowing Russian can lead to great job opportunities. as the Russian language is used in organizations such as the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, BRICS, and G20. The economic and business partnership between Russia and Pakistan is growing, and this means that there are more jobs for professionals in various fields. And I know that Russia and Pakistan are working together on joint projects, and all these projects, they need new knowledge. Education can help spread this knowledge. And in the end, I need to say that Russian language is in demand in the job market. Large international and Russian companies are interested in applicants who have native speakers. Thanks to the Russian language, there is an opportunity to work with partners and promote the services in the market. And as you know, Russia and Pakistan established diplomatic relations on the 1st of May 1948, exactly 77 years ago. And we believe that in the 21st century, we will be able to achieve significant beneficial results in the economy, science, and culture. Please, next slide. So, if we talk about how we can use what we know about the Russian language, I can tell you about a very important database of scientific sources in modern Russia. It is called the Russian Science Citation Index. In Russia, all published scientific works, for example, articles, dissertation research, monographs, different scientific papers, etc., are cited and should be placed and indexed in this scientific database. So you can follow this QR code to visit this interesting resource. So it is very important for researchers who are interested in regional studies or need access to research conducted in Russia and neighboring countries. So this index includes many different scientific subjects such as the natural sciences, engineering, the social sciences, and the humanities. For example, you can find my articles on this website. But you need to log in to register on this website, but I think it will be easy for you. So, and you can also use automatic translation systems to understand the value of this website. So, this means that researchers can find relevant studies across various fields if you visit this, if you follow this opportunity. So, please, next slide. So, the second resource I would like to tell you about is the Russian National Corpus. And you can also follow this QR code. This is a useful tool for teachers and people learning Russian. For example, I use this website for my students when I was in Pakistan. It shows real examples of how the language is used. You can make teaching materials and learning experience better using this website. It helps learners understand how language is used in the real world. So the Russian National Corpus is also important for making dictionaries and other reference books. It allows users to analyze how often words are used and how they are used. So it is a practical resource for you. The Russian National Corpus includes, as far as I know, literary works, which are valuable for cultural and literary studies. And I suppose that researchers can analyze normal language, literary language, themes and styles, and explore the cultural context of different periods. It is an excellent tool that supports a wide range of linguistic and cultural research. And I know that the resource it has complete and annotated data make, annotated layout. So I think that the resource will be quite interesting for you if you follow it. Dear friends, dear colleagues, next slide, please. I tried to, dear friends, I was trying to add QR codes on the slide. I think that it will be easy for you to follow all these websites later after our report. So this slide shows you some websites that are great for learning about Russian culture, art, history, ethnology, cultural anthropology, and I think that you enjoy all these websites. I believe that this resource have one big advantage. They don't talk about difficult theories and allow you to enjoy famous Russian cultural and educational institutions, for example, museums, theaters, galleries. You can watch movies, you can also cover some quizzes on some websites. Many of these websites and institutions have an English version. And if you don't speak Russian, you can use an automatic translation systems to read them. And some of these systems are of a high level, I suppose. For example, one of the most my favorite websites, it is culture.ru. The first QR code on the left of the slide. Next slide, please, dear friends. So, dear colleagues, if we talk about how to learn Russian as a foreign language using practical technologies, I would strongly recommend you to follow so-called lingua-cultural approach. So, that is the approach I use in my practice for 20 years at the university. So the approach, for example, pays attention to the typology of classes and possible activities. Of course, this typology is not exclusive and can be further developed. So, for example, I can discuss this typology with my Pakistani colleagues later if you want. What can we suggest? So I suggest and I perform during my lessons. I call it culturally based topics and themes. So what is it? It is a set of themes and topics that reveal the cultural the cultural basement of a particular people. So learning about Russian, we are trying to learn about Russian history, including significant events like adoption of Christianity or the Soviet era. So I think it helps us to understand the evolution of the language and its cultural context. And we also try to learn phrases and vocabulary associated with some specific Russian holidays, and we believe that it is very important to learn language in its cultural context. So we provide and we offer, we call it cultural immersion activities. All these activities engage students in the customs, values, and lifestyle of a foreign culture. So I suppose that cultural immersion it helps us to escape just observing a culture. So, for example, on one of the photos on this slide, you can see how we and the students paint Russian nest and dolls. It was in Greenwich University previous year. Of course, these activities should not be carried without special preparation, and foreign students need to be explained who this symbol means in Russian culture, what meanings it carries, and usually such events begin with a small preparation lecture. I also offer to utilize authentic texts, specially designed texts in a foreign language, considering the student's level. So, and here we have two types of text in mind. The first type of text is necessary to improve the communicative skills of foreign students. They usually simple and small in structure. The second type of texts are presented by literary masterpieces translated into the language of foreign students. And here one can pay attention to classical literature text by such famous Russian writers as Pushkin, Tolstoy, Chekhov, and others. And familiarity with such literary allows the foreign student to identify the more serious structures of Russian culture. And I can also provide some hints and suggestions for you if we follow lingua-cultural approach. So I offer you to examine cultural keywords. So we know that learning a foreign language, a new language, change the way you think. When you learn Russian, understanding cultural keywords and what they mean can give you a better idea of Russian culture and help you to communicate more easily. So if you want to understand cultural keywords, please pay attention to the words related to family and collectivism, traditional values and patriotism, modesty and humility, social customs and etiquette, emotional and social connections. So all these words are considered to be cultural keywords. And by focusing on these cultural keywords and concepts, learners can gain a deep understanding of cultural context. I also can suggest you to analyze Russian proverbs and idioms because they reflect the cultural, historical, and philosophical context. Please use role-play cultural situations. This allows students to practice language skills in real-life situations. And my last words, I'm sorry, because we are short in time. So speaking about technique that will be useful for you, I think that the most important technique for you is technique of comparison. So, dear friends, please the last slide. If you have any questions, if you're ready for cooperation, you will find my email, and we can proceed with our academic activities.
Very good afternoon to each one of you. Are there any students sitting out there? Are there any students in the audience? Yes. There are. Okay. So show your presence. I have a certain impression that you are completely bored. Okay, so what do you want me to talk to you about? You tell me, I'll try and talk of what you wish to listen to. आप बताइए आप क्या सुनना चाहते हैं, मैं वो बात करना चाहूँगा. कोशिश तो कर सकते हैं. Okay, we continue with the same subject. Fair enough. Okay, a little clarification. I'm no educationist. I have very little to do with education. I'm myself highly uneducated, so how can I talk about education? It's a very difficult subject. However, there is few take home for me from these proceedings. First and foremost, I wish to thank the Greenwich University. I wish to thank Dr. Ambreen Atiq and the other hosts from Greenwich University, and of course the Professor of His Excellency from Consul General of Turkey. Ladies and gentlemen, there are certain cliche words that have emerged in the last many years, and one of them is sustainable. The number of times since 11 o'clock this morning till 3 minutes past 1 o'clock, the word sustainable I have heard, I lost the count. And when I lost the count, I thought to myself that when I go back to my office and if any colleague of mine mentions the word sustainable, I'll catch him by his neck and strangulate him. For me, the word has a very simple meaning. Okay, you can add it as a prefix or use it as a suffix. Very simple meaning. Utilization of anything in the present and not making it available for future generation. That's all it means. Nothing more. So what is it that we can preserve? I think the ladies, particularly the speakers here, all doctorate holders, they have spoken extensively about that. There was a mention about time being a resource, and is it a asset that is appreciative in nature, or is it an asset that has got depreciation as its main quality? Is it an asset that can be utilized now and forever, or is it an asset that will pass away in the next minute? Okay, the future is the past of the now, right? So, time is something that you as students, I think, must be more careful about than anything else. How do you make for the available time that nature and destiny has bestowed upon you? It's limited in nature. As they say in mining assets, when you mine something from the ground, it is called a wasting asset. Wasting asset means the more you're utilizing it, the lesser it becomes. So each one of us is progressing in our life towards our ultimate destinations, right? So that ultimate destination timing is unknown to most of us. Consequently, what is available is the most critical element. And that is what we need to talk about. And that what brings me to the new coinage that I heard this from Dr. Saba. Thank you very much for introducing the attention economy. I loved it, simply loved it. Because the invoice of attention economy will always be raised in what? In time. The cost of attention is time, and time is money, as they say. Got to be extremely careful of who do you wish to give attention to. Don't give attention to everything around you. Choose your objectives. You also mentioned about, I have to use that word because she used it many times, okay? Sustainable relationship with the self. Now, I have been practicing that for the longest period of my life, to develop this relationship within myself, with me and my own self. And I hate that relationship. And to use the language that His Excellency will use, I would like to cut off all diplomatic relations with my inner self. And you might want to ask, why do you wish to do that? Because it's a troublemaker, continuously talks to me, regularly reminds me of my responsibilities, does not allow me to be outlandish, tells me, no, you've got to be mature. I want to have fun and frolic, says, no, you're being washed, don't do it. So this inner self is something that I want to, again, stifle off completely, pulverize it, intimidate it, so that it doesn't speak to me more than necessary, but it keeps on whispering inside continuously, unendingly. Even while I'm asleep, my dreams are sometimes possessed of the present. Consequently, I don't even have a peaceful sleep. So I have a certain reservation on developing this relationship further. I'm already troubled by it, so I don't want to spend more time upon developing that relationship. But critically important, what I want to derive from what was said, and on a very serious note, the conversations you have with your inner self are the most truest form of communication. Your inner self never lies to you. Just as before, when you stand before a mirror, you cannot make the mirror say that thou art the most beautiful person. It will say what you are. It will not reflect even your inner goodness. It will only portray your outward goodness or your outward physical looks. But the inside, which is the most beautiful picture of divinity that we all have within us, that has to remain the most beautiful at all points in time. And how do we nurture that beautiful divinity within ourselves? By being in conversations of absolute truth and recognizing recognizing it as the signal for your life that you need to lead. So when I jokingly said that I hate this inner person, I was trying to invite your attention that spend time and listen to what your inner person is telling you, because it will then guide you towards what you are blessed with. Those who excel in their professions are usually people who are passionate about their professions. Passion and profession is rarely combined in an individual. Take my own example. Okay, banking is not my passion. Banking has been my profession. Why? Because I needed an economic means. I needed money. I needed to sustain myself. Sorry for using that word. I needed to do something about myself, right? So consequently, I went there. But is that my passion? No, that's not my passion at all. My passion is to be with people. That's my passion. I love interacting with people. I love sitting and conversing with people. I love sitting and listening to people. I enjoy listening more than I like to speak, because that's where I think the inflow is so tremendous. The deluge of information that you get is amazing. So lend your ears to people who want to talk to you. Allow that information to flow towards you and make your own selection of what you want to delete and what you want to retain. Retain what is good that can give beauty to the inner self. Delete what you think will only spoil the image of your inner self. And if you think that the inner self is obscure, hidden, masked, let me tell you of my personal opinion on this. Nature by design has made it obvious. That's why we have these phrases in the English language. Face is the index of mind. I alter it to mean face is the index of the heart. So whatever is there inside you will reflect on your face. If you are an honest individual, your face would show to people that you're an honest individual. And should you not be, then I'm afraid your face will get deformed over a period of time. If you don't trust me on this theory, do something tonight. For those of you who have got children in your houses, particularly infants who do not communicate except through a mysterious smile that they have, where they get that smile from, only he knows and the child knows. And the child doesn't remember why he smiled. The infant doesn't remember. Go to an infant when he's awake in his cradle. Just go, just tiptoe there. Don't make any noise. Don't make any sound. Just go and stare. Have an eye contact and stare with your eyebrows like this, anger, full of anger, but don't say anything. That infant will start crying because you're communicating. Try the other way around after 10-15 minutes. Just go there again, make no sound. Just go and stand there and keep smiling at the infant, but smile back. That's the mystery of the inner self. Recognize that. Face is the index of mind. Never forget that. Jo andaruni, with apology to you, I'm going to use some Urdu to have impact on them. Ki aati hai, because I know Urdu also. अंदर की खूबी और अंदर की विलासत दोनों ही चेहरे पे आया होती हैं हर वक्त और उस पे आपका कोई काबू नहीं है. You have no control over your emotions that will speak from your eyes, from your facial gestures, from the muscles on your face. You just can't avoid it. It's nature. So be very mindful of it. Is that what you said? Mindfulness is something that we need to be very conscious and cognizant of. Now, I had come to this particular event with the view that we shall talk about equality and equity in education. Okay, we haven't touched upon that yet, and if they did, I'm sorry I didn't capture it in my mind. We have to look at the society we are operating in. What is equality? Equality is basically, consider yourself all my students, then I must present to you something that all of you will benefit equally. if I were to pick up on you and provide something that you are desirous of knowing, and I possess to have that information, then I'm giving you an equity education, which is only meant for you, not for the rest of the class. You can do that depending on what kind of society you are living in. For example, Japan has come up with something absolutely new. And I want you to please pay attention to this aspect, particularly the students. What has happened is that Japan has decided that from class kindergarten to up to O-levels, there shall be no subjects. There shall be no examinations. There will be no tests. The entire class will be ranked either number one or equally. Okay, so the talent is now going to be exploited according to each individual's abilities. And that's what the teachers would watch. What are the students good at? It's only at the level of O-levels that they would decide of the direction that they wish to take of their life. That is what I think is education all about. And the way we have spoken about education as something that's come anew, and we are forgetting. For those of us who belong to the Islamic faith, we heard the word Iqra 1400 years back. Education started, right? And what was Vasco da Gama doing, traveling all the way from Lisbon to Calicut? What was Ferdinand Magellan doing, traveling all the way from Spain to Philippines? They were all in search of education, knowledge. And who provided that? The monarchs. They financed them. That was the sponsorship that we are all talking about. Today we call it scholarship. So if anybody is providing a scholarship, transnational, avail it. Go for it. And I would urge upon my younger students out here, search for scholarships globally. You learn so much from other cultures. The only thing is that you must learn and also return for some time at least to your home country. Don't just stay there. You can come and go, but spend some time here as well after acquiring something. The Chinese Consul General was complaining to me that we give so many scholarships to your students, but they never come back to your country. They stay in our country and start applying to the United States of America for a visa. Let's not do that, okay? The countries that possibly your faculty will tell you better, but the countries that I know that are offering excellent scholarships and that you must tap on is, I'll start from Oceania, right in the southern hemisphere, New Zealand, some universities in Australia, a lot in Hong Kong, which is surprising. There's a cutthroat competition, but Hong Kong is offering a lot of scholarships. China, of course. Then we have in the West, I think, I'm talking more from a Pakistani perspective. Germany is offering the most to Pakistani students. Okay, UK doesn't offer much of a scholarship. If they had offered scholarship, I could have today been an educated individual, but they don't. I don't think so. The American universities are as generous as the rest of the world is, but they do offer scholarships. Make applications. Try your luck out there. I was talking to a young girl who got married and she had to resign because her husband had been transferred to UAE. So I asked her that, what are you going to do? She said, I'm going to find a job for myself. I said, okay, and have you tried it? She said, yes, I've already begun. I said, what did you do? She said, last night I sent 300 applications. I said, how many? 300. I said, was there an ad? She said, no. I just sent it randomly. I was so inspired by that spirit. I got reminded of my own self. I would be writing to people unnecessarily, hoping to receive replies. So if I wrote 10 letters, I got replies to maybe 2. 8 were disappointments, but those disappointments became my stepping stones of life. So make applications. What is the most that can happen? You'll get rejected. So be it. Try another front. Don't give up. Use your time very effectively. Okay? And always bear in mind, those children succeed in life who know how to respect their parents and teachers. God bless you all.
Dr. Sirajuddin Aziz, thank you so much, sir, for sharing your very interesting lessons for the students here and imparting your knowledge. I really hope that there were a lot of takeaways for many of you who are present here, not just students, but also my colleagues. It's about finding purpose and it's about creating value, not just for yourself, but for society at large, and also prioritizing adding value to your own home country just as much as you would for your own individual selves. So thank you again, Doxa. Finally, I would like to invite to speak His Excellency Kamal Sanju to share his insights on education, creating equity, and I really do appreciate that he has agreed to be here today. Our dear Consul General from Turkey. So, sir, if you would mind.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Esteemed guests, dear students, Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon. In fact, I'm not prepared to make a speech today. I'm here to listen to the distinguished speakers, and I'm so pleased to be here to listen to the insightful, informative, and very interesting topics and speeches. So, education, everybody knows the importance of education. It's the backbone of development. It is the cornerstone of development. It's the power engine of development. If there is a development in a country, that means there is achievement. If there is achievement, there is also prosperity. So education is one of the important way out for the development of a country. So education, whenever I hear anything about education or any education institute, the best place I always be happy in educational institution. Because in these institutions, what we learn, how to dream, how to imagine, how to learn, how to experiment, how to discuss, how to argue, and how to criticize, and how to ask questions. These are the important features, and also how to make research, how to make innovations, and how to make also creativity. So these are the important features, and I listened distinguished speakers here, the importance of education, being with us, being peaceful, the one inside us. We have one Turkish Sufi philosopher, Yunus Emre said, there is another me inside me deep. And he says that you always be respectful, trustful, peaceful with yourself, deep in yourself. So it is very important to be peaceful, respectful with ourselves as well, and be always in dialogue with ourselves as well. It starts from ourselves. So, and what I took here, some small notes. My dear brother mentioned about the scholarship. He did not mention the name of the Turkey. The Turkish government is providing comprehensive scholarship for Pakistani students. Last year, 24, we provided 200 scholarship for Pakistani students in all levels, graduate, undergraduate, postdoc, research. Comprehensive means comprising everything, starting visa fees, travel expenses, accommodation, food, university fees, pocket money, books, stationeries, everything. So the application for the scholarship will start this year, 10 January, until 20th of February. We would like to have as many as possible applications from our brotherly Pakistan. This is the scholarship of Turkish government and Turkish Diyanet Foundation. Diyanet means religious affairs. They are also providing scholarship for Pakistani students for college level as well as university level. But this scholarship is for religious studies. Religious studies means, not only Islamic values, for other religions as well, and on college level as well as university levels in theology. Last year, for instance, we provided 80 scholarship for Pakistani students. So please inform all your neighbors or your relatives, friends, everybody to apply for this scholarship. It's very easy, online. Turkey scholarship, Turkish scholarship, you will find everything online. And also we have, alhamdulillah, world-class Turkish universities in Turkey. We have 208 universities over there, mainly public universities, but we have also, we don't call them private universities, foundation universities. They are also providing scholarship for Pakistani students. Depends on the students' marks and grades. Sometimes 100%, sometimes 80, 50, whatever it is. Please get the chance to get those scholarship as well. They are coming twice or 3 times a year to Karachi, to Islamabad, to Lahore for education fair. You can visit all these fairs and then apply for this scholarship as well. And then we believe, like in Pakistan or other countries, we believe in education, we believe in science, we believe in technology, and of course, data is very important. Distinguished speakers mentioned the data in these days. So we also invested a lot in the field of education in Pakistan as well. So maybe many of you know we are running 28 Pak Turk Marif schools around Pakistan. And we have more than 13,000 students in these schools. We are trying to provide our students here high quality education, because as I mentioned earlier, education is the only way out for development. And I mentioned the scholarship. Then we have Turkish Coordination and Development Agency and Turkish Diyanet Foundation. We are running also informal schools in Pakistan. Informal schools means these are 2 classrooms or 3 classroom schools in rural areas or in poor areas. For instance, in Karachi, in Korangi, Orangi, Liar areas, we have more than 25 schools. These are in these areas. What we refurbished 2-3 classroom schools. We set up one solar energy on top. We refurbish, we provide them school equipments, uniforms, books, stationaries, and also 1 woman teacher. They have the 3 years education program, which is prepared by JICA, Japanese Development Agency, in collaboration with the Education Ministry. When children graduate 3 years education, they have the access to secondary education. This valid for 6-year education. And we decided after, we choose mainly girls. Those girls who don't have access to education or whose family they don't want to send their girls far away from their houses. So we on purpose choose the location nearby their houses. And then we go to the community leaders to convince families to send their girls to the schools, because girls are very important Those girls are going to be tomorrow's mother, and then they will prepare our generation for future. So we give importance to the girls' education. We have, every year we enroll 1,600 students in those schools. Now until last year, we provide them 3 years education. We now thought after 3 years education, the families, they don't send again their girls far away for the secondary education. We decided to extend it to 6-year education again, which will valid, I think, for they can have the access to college education. So we extended to 6 years, and we signed an MOU with Hunar Foundation. It is one of the important foundations in Pakistan. They have excellent projects, excellent work. We signed them MOU to come to give them vocational training as well, to furnish them with a skill. So those, especially girls, when they graduate 6-year education, they will have also one profession. They can be a tailor, a barber, an IT expert. Any skills we are going to provide them. We also provide teacher training certificate for our sisters here. 23, we gave almost 800 teacher training certificate to our sisters in Pakistan. And those ladies, they start teaching in those schools as well as outside. They gain also jobs. So we try to do our best in the field of education in Pakistan. So these are the things we do, and also Turkish Coordination and Development Agency. We are refurbishing many schools. Refurbishing means we physically we refurbish outside and inside. We put them solar energy, they can have constant electricity. We furnish them IT labs, science labs, libraries, music rooms, and we provide them school uniforms and stationery as well. So currently we are refurbishing 9 schools, interior SINT, 3 public schools, 6 NGO schools. We have already completed 15 libraries, 15 science labs, and music rooms already. 2 schools, one secondary, one elementary school in Baldia town, one in Lidiari. So we are trying to do our best in the field of Pakistan, because everybody knows Turkey and Pakistan, they are 2 brotherly countries. We consider Turkey and Pakistan 2 different countries, but one nation, because we have been living almost 1,000 years together. Pakistan means not Pakistan. Pakistan means really Pakistan for us. We say that we are one body with 2 hearts. So one heart is beating for Pakistan, the other heart is beating for Turkey. So with these words, Turkey, Pakistan, dostu zindabad. Thank you for listening to me.
Your Excellency, thank you so much for those wonderful words. It's quite a privilege to have the love and support of Turkey and the contributions to our country's education sector. I was very moved by everything that you shared with us, and I'm sure there's a lot more. Hopefully, next time we can allow you some time to prepare an entire list of initiatives that Turkey is taking. And again, we're very grateful for the contributions. Thank you for your time today. Thank you all also for your time today and for being a fantastic audience. I would like to conclude today's symposium by inviting our Dean, Dr. Shaikh, to come and present our tokens of appreciation for our guests of honor as well as our keynote speakers today.